مساء الخير ومرحبا بكم. This is Khaled, the spokesperson for U.S. Embassy Algiers, and you're watching Let's Chat, our show on American culture produced by the American Cultural Center Algiers. We have a really fun special show for you today, but before that, I just wanted to give you a few announcements. First, your English is probably very good if you're watching this program, but if you'd like to practice, the American Cultural Center Algiers, or ACCA, just started its weekly virtual conversation clubs, which are hosted by an American English teacher named Rabiana, who lives in Hawaii. You can find information on how to sign up for that on U.S. Embassy Facebook. We posted yesterday, Tuesday, about it. And we'll also drop the sign up link in the chat now. And also on our Facebook page or here on YouTube, you can watch our latest video from our incoming ambassador, Elizabeth Aubin. She'll arrive very soon, in about a week, and she can't wait to return to Algeria. Her husband also is very excited about being back to have Hamoud. And so while the ACCA is still closed to the public, I know our guests are like, they have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'll get to them in a second. You guys are good? You guys are good? Okay, I'll explain that later.
I'm on Facebook signing up for the English lessons right now.
As well you should be, they're free. So while the ACCA is still closed to the public, in-person events should resume soon. Hopefully after this current Omicron wave subsides, at our 4 other American cultural centers in Oran, Constantine, Bashar, and Wergla. So for today's show, I'm very pleased to host 2 musicians and digital content creators who make some really hilarious satirical videos. So please welcome Andrew Gregory and Evan Gregory, 2 members of the band, the Gregory Brothers. Andrew and Evan, so great to see you guys again.
Good to see you, Khaled.
Glad to be here. It's very flattering. What an honor to be here with you today.
So the Gregory Brothers are an award-winning band that prides itself on, quote, making songs out of things that were previously not songs. So if you check out the band's popular YouTube page, Schmoyoho, which has over 3 million followers, you can watch their Autotune the News series, which makes the sometimes boring news much more catchy and hilarious, as well as some of their viral hit songs, such as Bed Intruder. The band's goal is to songify the universe in an attempt to create a cosmic dance party that brings world peace to all. Did you guys write that, or did I write that?
I think we wrote it at some point.
If you wrote it, we're going to steal it and start using it as our publicity copy. You know, there's a reason you're an official spokesperson.
Okay, so first of all, you guys claim that you are award winning. You know, can you be more specific? Is this like you paid $75 to some random website and they sent you a certificate that you put up on your wall, or what is this award of which you speak?
We've got a couple of those, that's for sure. We do have a couple of those, but we've got some real ones too.
Yeah, we love to pay websites to put our name on lists. Well, okay, what actual awards have we won?
We won.
Okay, we've won the Webby Award a couple of times. That's somewhat prestigious. The key is, if you win any award, no matter how lowly, you just say award winning, and then people read your biography and they project onto it. That's probably an Oscar.
Just like what happened here.
They're thinking. Yeah, well, you insulted us. Direction. You insulted us by aiming lower, as if we had just asked our mom to give us an award, which she would do.
What else? We won a Webby Award. There for several years. The American television station, the cable channel Comedy Central, ran an award show.
So we won a comedy award.
A comedy award. Actually, we won 100% of the comedy awards in our category, because then they shut down the award show because we were winning too much. We won the key. We have a key to our hometown
Key
Khaled,
to the city.
that's not a award that you'll see on Wikipedia, but the mayor of our hometown, a very small town in
Radford, Virginia. If I
Radford,
recall
Virginia, a
correctly.
town of about 15,000 people, gave us a key to
Gave
the
us
city.
a giant key. We
And
won a Streamy Award.
We won a Stream Award, and we lost. Probably the best award is when we lost, which is we were nominated for an Emmy, but we didn't win.
Wow. Okay. I've heard of that one. That one's pretty legit.
That one's legit.
Thank you.
I'll concede the point partially. I should also add that Andrew and Evan are good friends of mine from my college days, my university studies. They were teammates with me on Swarthmore College's Ultimate Frisbee team about 2 decades ago, and I have many fond memories with them. And Andrew and Evan, as we agreed upon in the legally binding document, which I forced you to sign beforehand, you are absolutely not to discuss any of these memories whatsoever in this public forum.
We thought it was overkill for you to send Secret Service agents to our office while we were conducting this Zoom. But yes, college with you was very good.
We very much enjoyed our time together.
Yes. Okay. Good. No, but if you want, you can share. If you could share a memory.
I mean, I will say you and I shared one unique thing in college, Khaled, other than being workout buddies. We had a semester where Khaled and I, he was a much more diligent fitness aficionado than me, even then. And you were waking me up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 days a week to go to the Mullen Center, the gym, and lift weights. And I remember it was actually during Ramadan, so it was a tough winter for you. But we shared a professor. I had him as my French professor, but you had him as your Arabic professor before there was even an official. Am I recalling this correctly? There wasn't even an official Arabic program?
Yeah. So when I came back from Jordan at the end of 2001, there were students that wanted to start learning Arabic. So I became kind of the teaching assistant, volunteer basis. And a French professor who was Moroccan he volunteered as the professor for Arabic. So he didn't speak any English, so I would kind of translate for him using my very intermediate Arabic to explain what he was saying to the class. It was pretty awkward and probably of limited instructional value.
So you were translating for the Arabic professor who spoke no English to a group of 10, 20 students who spoke no Arabic or French.
Like 12 or 13, they were starting from Alif Ba. They had nothing, and I was just translating.
Your class, the people listening might think that Paul is exaggerating that Sultani spoke no English, but I have a couple vivid recollections of Sultani. One is that I was in Grenoble, France one time, and a streetcar pulled away, and just standing across the street was Sultani. But that's a story for another day. But just speaking to Sultani's grasp of English, I was in a dormitory late one night, it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and Sultani came around the corner. What is my French professor doing in a dormitory at 10 o'clock at night? And he saw me, and he just said, "Andrew, j'ai besoin d'aide. I need help." There was this urgency in his voice. I thought, what's happened? Is Sultani is he a victim of a crime and he stumbled into the storm? What's happening? And I followed him around the corner, and he led me straight to the ATM machine. And he led me up to the screen and just gestured at it. And all the machine was asking in English for was his PIN number. It was the only ATM on campus, so that is why he'd come at 10 o'clock at night to the dorm, was to get cash. But I was just like, man, if Sultani does not,
he couldn't read the word number.
Does not have enough English to know to put in his PIN number. This is an issue with his English, but also an issue with maybe his improvisational life skills.
So if you're just joining us, we're with the Gregory Brothers, who are well-known YouTube content creators. They go back to, I guess, the early days of YouTube, really. One of my personal favorites that they created was Double Rainbow from 2010, which has accumulated some 40 million views. And before we watch Double Rainbow together, can you guys give us a little context? You know, who is the speaker in this video? How many rainbows does he see? And, you know, what substances has he consumed that day, perhaps? So many unanswered questions.
There's a lot of important details. Yeah, as Khaled, we know him as Paul, as Khaled shared, we are known for making songs out of things that were not previously songs. This is something that we arrived at very randomly while trying to be musicians in a very normal way. Then we started working with video and sort of happened by accident upon this new art form, which is to take, for a long time, we were doing it only with the news. And what you're about to watch is one of the first times that we applied this idea to a viral video. The original video was taken by a gentleman named Paul in California who observed a beautiful, beautiful rainbow that was so bright that you can see the second rainbow behind it. He called it a double rainbow. Now this gentleman, Paul, claimed to us, we met him many times in the years that followed, he claimed to us that he was not high on marijuana at the time, although it does sound that way. But we do know for a fact that he was a regular user of marijuana, and therefore his attitudes may have been open to that kind of thinking.
That, in fact, was his main defense against the suggestion that he was high when he filmed this video, was by scrolling through all of his other videos and saying like, well, I was high when I did that one, and high when I did this one, and high when I did that one, but not this one. And his ready admittal of his habits honestly made us trust him. But I think Evan raises a good point that perhaps his regular usage had changed his general outlook and attitude.
His perspectives were open. So his joyful reaction to the rainbow was already a viral video going across the internet. Yeah. Then we distilled it. We boiled it down into a song that captured that spirit. And then that became shareable in its own way. And subsequent to that, we met him and went into business together. We performed together and all that thing. So is that the context?
The last thing I'll note is that this video was taken in Paul's front yard. He lived in this gorgeous setting, I think in part because his wife was a Native American in California. So he really lived either on the edge or just inside Yosemite National Park, which is perhaps the most beautiful national park of all the national parks in America. So he kind of lived this in this amazing place and saw this amazing thing right near Half Dome in Yosemite.
Great. Should we go ahead and listen to it, Emily? If you can pull it up.
Whoa, that's a full rainbow all the way. Double rainbow, oh my god, double rainbow. It's a double rainbow all the way. Damn, it's a double rainbow all the way. Damn, oh my god. What does this mean? It's so bright, so vivid. Double rainbow, it's so intense, intense. What does this mean? It's starting to even look like a triple rainbow. That's a whole rainbow now. Ah! Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Yeah. So intense. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Wow, wow, oh my god, look at that rainbow. Double complete rainbow. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's full on. I can't even capture it on my camera. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Yeah. So intense. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Wow, wow, oh my god, look at that rainbow. Woo! Woo! That is the baddest fucking rainbow I've ever seen. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Yeah, yeah. So intense. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Wow, wow, oh my god. Look at that rainbow.
Check out the original double.
That was really beautiful. I mean, I've watched it, I don't know how many times, but it doesn't really get old. He just didn't he just pass away
He did.
Sadly, he
a year or
did.
two ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we are. One really sweet thing is now we're in touch with his family, with his daughter primarily, and we're really sad he's passed. But it's nice to kind of move on to working with the next generation of his family.
She works in the national park now, so she's continuing his legacy of conservation.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, no, it was in the news when he passed away. It was, I forget where I saw it, BBC or somewhere. So the way that a lot of the American public knows you is through your political satire. Can you explain? Was Songify the News the very first time you kind of started to go into politics? And can you explain that series?
That's right. We called it something differently in the early years, which now is 13 or 14 years ago. At the time, we were calling it Autotune the News, and it became Songify the News. We invented a verb, songify, to describe turning things into songs. But we always were interested in politics and current events, and we followed things very closely. And this was a way that we could both interact with the news and do something that was fun and interesting to us by way of making music. And then we could have our fun too, and we could comment on it. And I've sort of taken for granted that that's part of American culture, to always be commenting on the government and having your voice heard in whatever way. And our voice is through making little jokes, but not in the way that a stand-up comedian makes jokes. We would prefer to find an event or a piece of media that interests us, and then showcase it in this way, to show what's strange about it, to show what's odd about it, what's memorable about it. And in Songify the News, we often would take ourselves and place ourselves in the news so that we could have a conversation with the public figures that are appearing in that piece.
But at the same time, one thing that is unique in our YouTube videos, I would say, is that we're kind of in the background of them. And perhaps we see a senator giving a speech that we think is really dumb or funny. That senator is kind of the star of the video, and we're just kind of in the background.
Supporting characters.
And one thing that has been interesting from kind of like a political standpoint from that, for me, is that we can see a senator, for instance, make a speech that we think is absolutely moronic. So we'll be putting the senator in our video to make fun of him, to say, look how dumb this point of view is. And in the YouTube comments, a lot of people will understand that's what we were trying to say. A lot of people will say, like, they really stuck it to this guy, like, can't believe this guy's such a moron. But there will be a ton of YouTube commenters who are like, so glad the Gregory brothers agree with this senator and see how great this senator is for America. It's been an amazing exercise at seeing how people see things the way they want to see it. One specific example is there was a video some years ago when he was vice president of Joe Biden talking about how for home defense, you should have a shotgun, and if you need to, fire it into the air off of your balcony, which we just found to be quite a fascinating thing to say, a funny thing to say. But he was really speaking out in support of gun control for things like AK-47s. And we found over the last 10 years that this video, time and time again, became incredibly popular on Facebook. People would steal our video and post it on Facebook in like AK-47 gun groups to mock Joe Biden in a way that we had never expected. So we ended up pulling the video and posting it as its own thing, just so we could have more control over the video. And if you go look at the comments of that video, they're all people that are like gun, kind of like just love guns. It's just comment after comments of people saying like, come get my guns, Joe, like come try, which is like not our point.
That's really fascinating. So, and then, I think a lot of people also saw you for the first time with the debates, right? Once you started, songifying or the presidential debates in 2012 for the first time, right? Then 2016 to 2020, or did you do some in 2000?
We did some in 2008, and that's really when we started working together, was during the 2008 debates.
I'd say the 2008 presidential campaign here in the US was when we first were discovering this new craft that we were inventing a little bit, using software to manipulate the spoken voice into sounding like singing. So if you go back to 2008 on our channel, you can see the prototypes, the pilot project, if you will, for what became the next year a little bit more polished version of Autotune the News. And so then we've done it every 4 years since then. We've returned to that format, taking the presidential debate, which is, of course, at the end of the campaign season when you have your two candidates that are vying for the spot. There's like the official debates that they participate in, not just stuff in the media, but that night where they come together to debate each other face to face. Everyone is watching it. So we are interested in it, but also we know that the whole country is going to be paying attention and will be aware of what came up in the debate. And everyone's going to be watching the next morning for, well, what's in the news about it? What are people saying about it? Who won? Who lost? And so by reacting to the debate with a piece of media that both recaps what happened, but also expresses our point of view, that's a way that we can be heard. So we've done it every 4 years since then, and we would pretend to be moderators and posing questions to the candidates while they sing their answers.
Right. Although perhaps 2020 was our last year. The Republican Party has said they are likely not going to participate in presidential debates in 2024. So perhaps 2020 was our swan song. Wow.
But you guys also did primary debates, so not just the Democratic candidate and the Republican candidate. I remember I saw a couple of your videos that were, like in, was it 2020 when the Democrats had like 10 different candidates on stage?
Yes. Everyone wanted to take a shot.
You're showing your colors as a true fan, Khaled. Yeah, we did a really fun one with Joe Biden about how he has hairy legs. We kind of went in a weirder direction with that one because he had given a very interesting speech at a Wilmington, Delaware pool, where he talked about how hairy his leg. He used to work at the pool when he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. He talked about how hairy his legs were. He talked about a fight he got into with a man named Corn Pop. Mm-hmm. And everyone in America, people did not believe that Joe Biden could have known a man named Corn Pop, which is a very interesting nickname. But sure enough, someone found Corn Pop's obituary from like 2005, and it was like, they even said in his obituary that everyone knew him as Corn Pop.
So that's typical of our videos, that we took that speech that he gave to a specific audience at a swimming pool.
Yes.
And we like to imagine, what if he had said that in public in this very formal setting of the debate? So we said it we said it in the primary debate where he was against a large field of opponents in his own party. And so when everybody's answering questions about the economy, we created this fictional universe where Joe Biden says, "I have hairy legs," in the middle of the debate. And it got very exciting from there.
Yeah. Another like small thing about that video that just really tickles me is through the whole primary series for the Democrats, we created a fictional argument between Pete Buttigieg, who's now the Secretary of Transportation in the United States, and Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, about whether Coldplay is the best band in the world. I don't know why we thought that was so funny, but Pete Buttigieg just kept coming back around in video after video saying Coldplay was the best band, and it made Bernie very mad.
Well, in our work, we like to create this fiction that any moment in life can burst into song, can be found as a musical moment. So as long as we are creating that fiction, we like to find other details to tweak as well.
I like the way you worked in some Arabic in that last reference. Buttigieg, his name, so he is of Maltese origin, but our Secretary of Transportation, his father is from Malta, but his last name is Buttigieg, which also in Arabic means father of the chicken. So yes,
wow.
And it would mean the same thing in Algeria and Tunisia. Maltese is basically Tunisian Arabic with some Italian thrown in on top.
I think flash forward from our college days, Khaled, you could go from being a volunteer teaching assistant of Arabic to very, very professional senior professor.
Wow, I learned something today.
So probably our dear viewers at this point have no idea what we're talking about. So we can understand the debate and how you songify it. Why don't we watch the "We're All Doomed" video from the 2020 presidential debates, if you can pull that up.
And Khaled, do you want to explain who the host of this debate is? Will people in Algeria know the context of
actually, they won't. Why don't you say that? Yeah.
So this host, we were just talking about how we often host the videos, but in this case, the man you can see on screen is a famous songwriter and parodist here in the United States.
He's a famous music comedian.
His name is Weird Al Yankovic, and for 40 years, he has kind of been the one comedy musician who will regularly, his songs will even chart, and he'll take a song and rewrite it to be silly. That's it.
So we had him as our guest, and we watched the debate on, it was a Tuesday night maybe, and we cut out the person who actually moderated this debate, the newscaster who was hired to moderate the debate. We cut him out, and we put in Weird Al to ask the questions, and then we chose what answers from the presidential candidates we would put into the song that we're about to see.
And to be able to get the video out the next day, the day after the debate, we'd written and shot all of Weird Al's footage weeks in advance, because we are just in deep enough with politics that you can get close enough with your predictions about what is going to be asked during the debate.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let's go ahead and watch it then.
Gentlemen, welcome to the first presidential debate. Our first question in the key of G sharp minor is Scoo-doo-doo-it, doo-we-didn't-bibba-da-baba-da-boo, baba-doot-it. I'm so sorry. 2020's the raging hellscape. Any ideas on how to stop a worldwide plague?
We should be providing people the help they need. He knew back in February it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape acknowledging he knew.
Really?
He waited and waited and waited, and he didn't even tell you.
President Trump did a phenomenal job. People said that.
Well,
we got the gowns, we made the ventilators, we get the masks. I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. The biggest mask I've ever seen. The biggest mask I've ever seen.
will we ever get back all the jobs we lost? Or should we set up 11 million Etsy shops?
My economic plan would create $1 trillion in economic growth. He has no intention of making it better for you all at home.
I brought back football. It was me.
What?
Big Ten football, and I'm very happy.
Who's it gonna be?
They want to take out the cows.
In the West Wing.
Now here's the deal. He has no idea what he's talking about.
We're living in the apocalypse. I'm begging you to put a stop to this, pretty please.
He said he could inject some bleach. They cheat.
If the Supreme
That's just, what really strikes me about that is how you were able to, we would watch the debates. It was a Tuesday night. And then the next morning, your final product would be out. It would be posted by the New York Times, Wednesday morning. That was just crazy. How did you pull it off? I mean, you mentioned that you were planning in advance and you already had Weird Al, but still.
Thank you for, that's very kind of you. Thank you for noticing that, because it is something that we put a lot of effort into doing, responding quickly and being a part of the conversation that happens after that important political event. So as Andrew mentioned, we wrote a bit in advance. You try to think about what are the issues that are happening. Okay, you can guess pretty accurately what are they going to ask the candidates? Not necessarily the specific question, but the topics.
General enough.
They have to talk about the pandemic. They have to talk about
like foreign policy in general. They're going to mention another country.
So we wrote the whole framework for the song. Question 1 will be about the coronavirus. And then we will have enough time, 10 seconds, for the candidates to sing their response. So we can lay out that whole framework before Tuesday night and have all of the instruments playing and the songs sounding good. Then we watched the debate with eagle eyes, having a conversation the whole time, taking notes, saying, I think he just made a rhyme with himself. Yeah. He said house and then he said mouse. Put that down.
I will say that like one thing that has made this a lot easier between 2012 and now is, and I really don't know why this has changed, but the speed at which news sites are posting full transcripts of things, like down to the ums and the stutters that politicians have. So like within 15, 30 minutes of the debate being done, there'll be like a 40-page transcript of the whole event. So when you say like, oh, we need a rhyme for Trump for the word cow,
Yeah.
You can just think to yourself like, well, what rhymes with cow? Now. And then you can just search the transcript for the word now and find phrases that could work as a rhyme.
Yeah. But we work it helps that we're brothers. We have a level of trust. We've worked with each other a long time. We know each other's sense of humor. So as soon as the debate is finished, we run off to our little lanes. Andrew sits at the computer editing and yelling at us. I need a clip of when Joe Biden looks mad. Find me a clip. Then I run off to my computer and I'm in charge of the visual effects. So I'm doing a green screen or something like that. We all work on our little projects and then it all comes together around 7 a.m. as the sun's coming up, and then you put it out.
Then we send it to the New York Times, which for the funniest thing about co-publishing this with the New York Times, which is what we've done with probably 7 or 8 of these debates in the last 8 years, is that they still take it through a fact-checking process, which is very funny to us that it's like we're in this fictional world where there's a whole other like host of the debate. Like we're like splicing up the words, but there's still like some level of fact checking we need to clear. 4 years ago, I guess it was 5 years ago now, the New York Times in our video published a blurred middle finger, and it delayed the publication of the video by several hours. And later, the New York Times claimed to us that it was the first ever depiction of a middle finger in the New York Times.
We did it.
Even though it was blurred. It was a double, too. It was a double middle finger.
that a candidate actually did, or it was like you guys
yes, the candidate actually did
No, it was
we green screened in the arms.
Donald Trump was behaving so angrily towards Hillary Clinton that we felt like we would create the fictional middle finger because that's what it felt like he was doing to her. That's the way he was expressing himself. So we filmed it on a green screen and then put it in front of him.
I could send you the image, Khaled, but I don't think you would want to share it. I think it would be untoward for a official State Department employee to share.
Very unbecoming.
Share such an image.
Very unbecoming. Good point. So for our audience that's following live on YouTube, we're getting lots of comments. Nassim Ben Sayah says these guys are creative, and then has a fire emoji. And we lots of other comments. A few people are asking, and if anybody else wants to ask about their political satire or their other digital satire, feel free to write your questions in the comments and we'll ask them right now. A couple of people ask about politics. Emil says, so you guys are the new politicians 2.0. And Ziani asks, did you both study politics in college?
Neither of us studied politics in college. I think I took a single political science course.
What's your degree in?
My degree is in religion with kind of a because we went to a secular college, like it wasn't a degree to become a minister. It was a more about the anthropology of religion, I suppose I would say. I was very interested in sort of social studies, we would call it in the United States. Social studies is a combination of history and politics. That was a major interest for me in high school. And in America, you have like quiz teams kind of in high school, kind of like Jeopardy, where you specialize just in a subject. And that was a very serious interest of mine in high school, but I just kind of took a left turn in college. But I think that lingered with me, following politics and reading the news and that sort of thing.
My degree is in music and computer science. So in some way, I'm doing what I studied. But of course, you don't write music about music. Most people write music about love or something like that. And we have been interested in politics. So this was a good outlet for us to express that interest. I don't think we can describe ourselves as politicians 2.0. Someone asked that question.
Until we run for office.
Until we hold elected office.
Great. So we also have a question. Did you ever get in trouble for insulting politicians or famous people?
Well, I'm gonna send you a picture, Khaled, that hopefully you can share.
I don't have no idea what you're about to do.
I would say, do you think we've ever gotten in trouble, Evan? We have gotten a lot of notes from people about.
Yeah, I think what the question that I'm.
Hey folks, happy Valentine.
The question that I'm imagining is, well, like real substantive trouble, like legal problems, or even if it's not problems with the law, that like a platform like YouTube or something like that would penalize us. And the answer is no. We've never gotten in trouble. I think the most we are exposed, or the most danger that we are in, is more around intellectual property or the copyright within the U.S. Now, we believe that we are in the right because we are offering commentary and satire on current events. So in U.S. law, that's allowed, where we can use someone else's video as long as we are commenting on it and providing some additional value. We're not just stealing it, but that's an area that's up for debate. And we've never been in trouble for saying something unkind or funny about a politician or a leader. That's that's an American value, I would say. But we have had comments from people that they would reach out to us or say, I like this or I didn't like it, or sometimes they want to be in on the joke.
I will say generally politicians in the United States have a good sense of humor about it, if only because they know how bad it would look for them if they had a bad sense of humor about it. It would just be so embarrassing if you said, like, I wasn't singing and you made me sing. In America, that'd be a very bad look. But we were lucky enough to work with Joe Biden when he was vice president. I sent Khaled an image of that, which was very exciting for us. We got to work with Michelle Obama while she was first lady on a project. But honestly, maybe the funniest thing that happened to us with a politician, which I don't think we've talked about publicly before, is some years ago when Donald Trump announced that he was going to create a space force to police the fourth warfighting domain. He said there were 4 warfighting domains: the land, the sea, the air, and space.
Space, sure.
We wrote a song based on his speech called Space Force, and his campaign director reached out to us and asked if he could play our song Space Force at Donald Trump rallies.
But then he found out it was making fun of Donald Trump.
But I think when they dug a little, we started emailing with him back and forth, like, okay, like how much money would you pay us to play Space Force at rallies? We just wanted to see if we can make it happen. We think that they dug a little deeper and realized that perhaps our song Space Force was not a glowing review of his initiative. And I think that goes back, for those of you who've been on the chat or the talk for a while, Khaled, that people who watch our videos can see what they want to see. Brad Parscale watched our video and thought, like, these guys love the Space Force.
So, so thanks for the screenshot. I'm actually not, you guys can share it on your end if you want, or Emily, if you're there, can you pull up the screenshot? If not, anyways, don't worry about it. We'll go on. But yeah, I mean, I think it is really important to note that in the U.S. we have the First Amendment, right, which protects freedom of expression, and that protects basically everything that the Gregory Brothers put out. And but there is a lot of protection of intellectual property rights. So you can't just steal somebody else's content and pass it off as your own. So that is not protected by the First Amendment. So thank you for that point. Okay, so we have just a couple minutes left. There was a question about finances. So how did it work out financially? Oh, here we go.
This is a picture of me sitting with then Vice President Joe Biden. I had much shorter hair then.
I will say it was very flattering that he had seen our video about firing shotgun blasts into the air with him. And he talked to us at great length as his staff struggled to get him out of the room. They were trying so hard to get him to quit talking to us, and he was just grabbing our arms and talking very close to our faces. He's really one of the most charismatic men I've ever met.
That's great. So this might be the last question we have time for, but we want to know more about, as YouTubers, when you've got videos that are reaching 1 million people, 5 million people, up to, you had one that reached 150 million people. How does that work out financially? Especially for when you have some of them, you have collaboration with the person whose video it originally was. Like, are you able to, cover your life expenses for that? Was it and is it your full-time job?
Yeah, this is now our job, but I will say that YouTube is kind of how we're known, and thus kind of like all the money we make is because of YouTube. But if you were looking at a pie chart of who is paying us, YouTube is not the biggest piece of that pie. We're paid by Spotify because people think like, oh, the Muffin Song. I'd love to just listen to the Muffin Song in my car. So they pull it up on Spotify. We do get a payment from YouTube. We get paid from a crowdfunding site called Patreon that are kind of our biggest fans that want to have more of a personal interaction with us. And honestly, a big part of our income is commercial work. A podcast producer will reach out to us and ask us to write the theme song for their podcast. We'll work on a television theme song, like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is a Netflix show. I'm not sure if Algerian viewers would be familiar with it, but we worked on that theme song. Or there's a ton of commercial work, whether it's an ad or something else that we're hired to do that isn't technically YouTube money, but those people wouldn't know to hire us except for YouTube.
If you're a very large YouTuber, YouTube might be your main source of income, especially if your videos are about, hey guys, well, this is my day. And then the experience is just videos with a personal connection. For us, it's about producing music. So we do work for ourselves, but it's streaming music, it's YouTube videos, it's making commercials, it's all those things.
And frankly, the people that are doing direct to camera YouTube stuff, those people are very talented because they're able to draw their audience in and make their audience care about them. Those people have a special talent, but a lot of those people are able to make 2, 3, 5, 7 videos a week. And like, we're happy if we're making 2 or 3 videos a month. That would be a good month for us.
I didn't tell you guys, but that's sort of what I do now. I'm the spokesperson for U.S.Embassy Algiers, and so I'm the person kind of breathing heavily into the phone selfie. And
you're a content creator now.
Yeah, the problem is I don't really get paid for it. I mean, I get a government bureaucrat's salary, but that's it. I don't get anything for the ads or for the views or anyways.
Wow.
So we're about out of time, unfortunately, but thank you guys so much. It was really fun to see you and have you on the show. And just wanted to remind anyone who wants to see more of them, you can follow their YouTube channel, Schmoyoho. It is down in the, we'll put it in the chat and also in the comments. And of course, if you want to watch, if you don't follow U.S. Embassy Algiers YouTube channel, you should hit subscribe. And we are generally live on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Next week, though, will be at 5 p.m. We have the Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy, at another U.S. Embassy. He was the Deputy Chief of Mission here in Algiers, Lawrence Randolph. He is going to be live at 5 p.m. to talk about Black History Month. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And Evan and Andrew, last word goes to you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks to everyone for all of your very kind questions. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Khaled.